on. We're going to start here with the new tropical storm that's developed off the west coast of Africa. Like we mentioned yesterday, we saw some tropical mussel flexing here off the west coast of Africa right there as it entered the warm waters, setting sail for the long journey possibly across the Atlantic Ocean towards at least right now, the Caribbean. May make its way up into the U.S. mainland. It is now already less than 24 hours later a tropical storm. But first I want to talk about a storm that went through Ottawa, up in Canada, Quebec, Gatineau, saw a tornado. Another community just south and west of Gatineau, if I'm not mistaken. Don't know if it's the same tornado, or I think it was Dunrobin. I don't know if it was the same tornado or two. All I know is there was over 100,000 people without power. Unfortunately, there were injuries. Just a very rare situation. I've got some exclusive pictures from the area that I want to share with you guys. And I've also got the storm that caused this on radar. I actually recorded this storm before it did the damage. And I'd made mention of this storm to the people up in Canada and Nova Scotia to be ready for this thing, at least for some high winds. And in fact, let me show you the storm. Here it is. I recorded this thing on the 20th as it was unfolding, and it extended like a giant thunderbird all across North America up into southern Canada. And when I saw that reaching across right there into the Quebec area, going over into Nova Scotia, and this is not done yet, by the way. This is going to pair up with another storm to form an even bigger force and make its way over into northern Europe by midweek next week. So look for some hurricane force winds in northern Europe next week, guys, courtesy of this storm right here that caused tornado in Quebec, and actually quite a bit of damage. I've got some exclusive pictures sent in by Vincent from the area, but that was one gigantic storm. Never seen anything quite like it. So when that branched out, I expected high winds. I certainly was not expecting tornadoes that did this kind of damage. Unbelievable. I don't know. It's coming down in record rates. We just saw record rainfall in Dallas, the Tyler, Texas area, Austin. Streets were turned to rivers in a matter of hours. Instantly pretty much ended a drought, which was a good thing, but they didn't need the flooding that kind of got out of hand. But here's where the tornadoes touched down. If it was the same one, it started in Dunrobin and went over to Gatineau, doing damage all along the way. I want to show you this storm. I showed you one aspect of the storm as it first started, as it traveled across the U.S. up into Canada. Now, as it's leaving Canada, this is at windy.com, this is the storm system here. It's going to travel across the North Atlantic, and it's going to make its way into northern Europe. Right there, it's going to join forces. Look how big that gets. It's over 500 miles wide. And that's, I don't think it's a named storm. It might be. We'll have to wait and see when the time comes. But that's Wednesday of next week. Going right into northern Europe, Sweden, Norway. You guys could see winds of 65, 75 miles per hour. There's a 77 mile per hour wind. That's getting near, or it's right at hurricane force. And that's on Wednesday into Thursday during the overnight hours. So that same storm system that did all that damage in Canada is headed your way. So big heads up. Also, another storm that went through Iowa yesterday, or the day, actually yesterday. These storms are really starting to rack up. I'm getting them mixed up here, trying to keep them separated anyway. Iowa, this storm system here from the 21st, I've got some awesome pictures of the sky that just are mind-blowing. This flying across North America. Big, powerful storm. And that thing had some high winds that produced tornadoes. Now we're going to go down to the tropics real quick. We talked about the possibility of this system as it came off the west coast of Africa instantly gaining momentum, counterclockwise rotation. And sure enough, it did graduate almost immediately up to a tropical storm in less than 24 hours. It's even been confirmed here at the National Hurricane Center. It's got a name already. That's Kirk. There's some other areas of interest out here in the Atlantic, so we may see some more hurricanes develop. This is just a tropical storm right now, but this thing could have some potential as it makes its way towards the Lesser Antilles. Right now, a Thursday afternoon, by Thursday afternoon, it should be in the Caribbean, right up next to the Lesser Antilles. The small islands down there. When it hit the warm waters, it instantly turned into a tropical storm. Sometimes these things gain strength as they move forward, as we all know. This one is right now forecasted to remain a tropical storm, quite possibly a mid-range to low-end tropical storm because of wind shear. If the wind shear departs, then it's a different story. So right now, expect at least a tropical storm, and we'll see where it goes from there. But there's also some energy behind that storm system that's yet to come off the coast. So we'll have to wait and see what that does. But there is a lot of energy leaving the west coast of Africa that could produce even more of these tropical storms. This one here looks like it does have a lot of potential. The only thing holding it down is the wind shear in the area, if it ever, that it's headed towards. It's not in wind shear right now. That's why it forms so quickly. But it's going to enter wind shear before it gets to the Lesser Antilles, which is a good thing. But after that, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know what it's going to bring. I want to leave you guys with another look. This is the Western Pacific, another Cat 5 in the Western Pacific. This is probably number 6 or 7 Cat 5 that they've seen this year in the next 72 hours. This is Typhoon Tamuy, and it will be a Cat 5 in 72 hours, headed towards, right now, Taiwan as possibly a Cat 4. So then we've got several areas of interest out in the Atlantic, got something that could be moving back towards the East Coast. Right now, it's just a tropical disturbance, but you never know with these things. So hopefully, I mean, and that's the last place on Earth there needs to be any type of tropical landfall. It doesn't look like it's going to be a landfall at the moment, but these things can change every hour. So we'll just have to keep